Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. First off, I apologize about my voice. I was screaming too hard cheering on my guest today, Vulcan, and also Surgical Goblin at King's Cup 2, but we're going to power through, guys. So, Vulcan, pleasure to have you on the channel, man. How you doing? How do you feel?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. I was so excited to get you as the eighth pick because I'm not gonna lie, you wouldn't have been my first choice, being a relatively unknown compared to some of the other players, but you definitely wouldn't have been my last choice either. So tell us a little bit about in this video. By the way, we're gonna get into all of the matches against CMC and Ace. The first round, which was one of our most difficult matchups as a team in King's Cup 2, and we're gonna do a play-by-play on your matches against CMC and Ace. But before that, tell us a little bit about your Clash Royale background. For a lot of people, you came out of totally nowhere, but you've been playing for a while. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
It's interesting. The first clan I joined was actually Eclipse's clan, Rage Royale. And then
Nice.
after that was disbanded, I moved over to Reddit Alpha, and I was there for about 6 months, and I met a lot of friends there. But they later moved to esports teams, and so I kind of hopped around clans until maybe a month ago I joined in Boreal MG.
Nice. And do you see yourself staying there? Or I can only imagine that a million orcs have been busting down your door trying to sign you now. A lot of people always ask me is, how do I get noticed as a pro player? Well, hey, one really easy way is attending a live competition and absolutely owning it. So, yeah, what's it been like?
It's been crazy. I've been contacted by maybe 6 esports teams now, one of them including my own and the one that I'm currently in. So it's just been crazy trying to decide what team I'm going to join and find the offer that most makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. Like I told you, off the air too, is that, you're in a great position now. So you might as well just think of what's important to you and then ask all the orcs to give their best offer, right? But
Yes,
it's a great
exactly.
place to be, man. And yeah, it's wild. What were you thinking going into when you knew that you were on our squad going into day two? What do you think? What did you think about our chances?
I thought that the team that I wanted to get on was definitely yours in the first place.
Now you're
So I
saying that.
no, like I was standing next to Tag while they were picking us, and Tag and I were like, please, we want to get picked last because we wanted to be on your team. It was awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I'm sure that's most 99.9% because of Surgical Goblin, who really came through at the end, and hopefully we'll have him on the channel soon. Maybe we'll even do a special Pro v Pro, you versus Surgical. That'd be a lot of fun. But today we're gonna get into this gameplay here, and let's go ahead and start off with the first match against CMC. Before we press play here. You had to have been a little bit nervous going against one of the best players in the entire game as your very first match on stage.
Yeah, I was nervous, but at the same time, I versed both of them on ladder before, and they've beat me, I've beat them, so I knew I could beat them. It was just a matter of matchups and, how you play, and I definitely had the advantage in the matchup.
Mhm.
So a lot of that was strategizing with Surgical Goblin on deck choices, which ended up being really good.
Yeah, and also I was actually I was able to beat Cam. Unfortunately, not later on. I didn't beat OJ or Ted, but I was able to beat Cam, which gave you a little bit of an opportunity to scout the decks.
Yes, that's
And that,
very true,
yeah. So YouTubers, like, even though we didn't really matter because none of us could beat a pro, it actually did matter because we could scout decks a little bit.
for sure.
All right, let's go into your first replay. I'm gonna hit play in three, two, one, go. So basically, just walk us through what was going on in your mind here and give us a little bit of a play-by-play. What deck were you using in this first match?
Um, it looks like
You
I don't
forgot.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll just see the
Okay.
next card.
All right.
I I think that I was playing Mega Knight Graveyard. So with this deck, usually you don't want to make the starting move. So I was just holding back for now.
And he's playing log bait. Obviously, you know his whole deck. So now that you
Yeah.
know he's playing bait, like, what's your strategy going to be?
Right here, I went in for the Ice Golem and Graveyard because I was hoping that he would play Goblin Gang, which means I could have poisoned and killed his princess and goblin gang with one poison. But he made a smart move and didn't drop his goblin gang into that.
Yeah, that
So
was smart. And you've actually proved to be very, very good at like being patient too. That's one thing I noticed, obviously, watching all your games so intensely.
yeah, for sure. And here he just played an Inferno, so there's no point in wasting any elixir on it because it would just kill whatever I drop next.
Yeah. So at this point in the match, are you feeling pretty good about your matchup here?
I'm feeling good. I know I can win it as long as I don't make a mistake.
Okay.
Here he just played his Goblin Gang, so I go in for a graveyard because I know all he has to counter is a knight, and a knight can stop a graveyard, but if there's a tank in front of the graveyard, then it'll get a lot of damage.
Wow. So when you're playing this deck against a bait deck, that's the most important cards you're keeping track of are obviously Goblin Barrel, but also his Goblin Gang for that very reason.
Yes, exactly. And it's also important to either keep log or goblins in cycle to counter the goblin barrel.
Now, do you prefer to always? Oh, what do you think about that rocket by CMC there? Do you think it was too aggressive?
I think that at the point he was at, if this was single elixir, I think that would have been a very bad play. But in double elixir, I don't think it was a bad move.
Okay. So far, things are pretty close. You just gained the damage advantage on that right tower. But do you feel like so far either of you have made any giant mistakes, or has it been pretty textbook?
I think it's been very textbook right now.
Okay.
And there, that was a very good goblins because if I had like been off by half a second there, the goblin barrel would have got a ton of damage and potentially won the game.
Yeah.
There I go with Mega Knight because I know that anything else I drop from the back would get rocketed, or the princess would get a lot of value on it. So I figured I'd just build up a big push.
Okay. And that worked out.
Yeah.
Worked out pretty well too. That counter with the Night Witch. I think that was the only time that he caught you with either goblins or goblin bear or log out of hand. Excuse me.
Yeah, and the graveyard I just did there was actually not my best move because I missed the poison on the princess, which almost ended up costing me, and I actually missed it here in a second, like a second time. So I almost lost the game because of that one.
Wow. And yeah, and at this point, what's going through your mind at this very moment? Like, are you like, you have to connect pretty good on this graveyard, right? I think at this point, to Surgical, I was like, oh crap, I think we lost because you're not within the log in rocket range, but you're just right there on the precipice.
Yeah, at this point I was freaking out. I thought I just gave up the game and made like the biggest mistake.
Oh my God.
Thankfully I saw that rocket barrel and
that rocket barrel, I didn't see that. That was crazy.
Yeah, the graveyard didn't even get any damage there, which actually really shocked me. But I managed to get the win anyway.
That was insane. So you got the win. How are you feeling? Are you like incredibly excited, or just kind of stoically confident at this point?
Oh, I was incredibly excited, but I know that if I start to show my excitement and let it get to me, I'll start messing up the next match. So I was trying to stay calm.
Okay. I have like a crazy glare going on right now on my webcam. I apologize. But we're going to start the next match in just a sec here. All right. Remind me to actually remind me to shut my window next time I record, Vulcan. By the way, speaking of recording, you're going to start your own YouTube channel soon, right? Or you already created it, but you haven't made a video yet, right?
I have created it, and right now I'm trying to decide a channel name. Originally, I named it just Vulcan, but then I searched Vulcan, and there's like 20 channels with the name Vulcan, so I figure I'll have to...
Spock #1 fan club channel 1, Spock #2,
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I'll definitely link that for you guys to check out. And we talked a little bit off air, too, that you're going to be doing reviews of some of the decks that you use here in this competition as your first videos.
Yes, I will do that. And then after that, I'm thinking about making a video or maybe even a series about pushing ladder without max cards. Because
that would be so good.
That's one of the things that I enjoy doing most. And I actually finished 300 and I think 22nd global a couple months ago on a level 12 account. So it's one of my favorite things to do.
Nice, man. What's your number one tip for under level ladder play?
My number one tip is make your own decks. Don't use a meta deck. It can be useful, but it will not get you to the top
I like that.
or as
I like
high as
that.
you can possibly be.
So go off meta a little bit.
Yes.
So it's okay to like take a meta deck and then like make a few changes. Is that like a good idea?
Um,
Or go
what
totally off the rails?
what I usually do is I start with a win condition, and then I add my most like high level support cards, and depending on what I start facing, I'll switch it up.
Okay. Cool. Well, that was his number one tip. To hear the rest of them, make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel.
Yes.
Let's get into match number 2 here. 3, 2, 1, play. All right. So what deck are you? Do you remember what deck you're running here? Or I should probably stop asking.
Pretty sure. Yeah, this was mortar bait.
Oh, so the mortar bait deck. Oh man, tell me about this deck. Like, are you confident with this deck? I remember being your teammate. You know, you and Surgical did all the deck strategy talk. I did not really input anything, but I remember like telling Surgical like I don't like this deck, but you actually won with it. I think you lost this match with it, but you actually won with it later. Tell us a little bit about this deck.
This deck is a deck that a lot of people who don't have max accounts can finish top 200 in the world with, or close to it. And I know Music Master used a similar version in CCGS. So I figured I'd try it for tournament. I've actually been pushing the start of this season with this deck, and I've got to top 200 several times. So I'm pretty good with it. And I figured it could counter air decks and log bait. So that's why I ran with it.
Okay. So early on, he does get a connection on your right tower, but you know you took quite a bit. It took 700 or so damage, but that was a really good minor log there, by the way. And so, how do you feel though about this match? You can't feel that great that he decided to go with the Expo against it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that minor log, I played my minor one tile to the right, which is a little bit of a misclick. But other than that, this matchup is actually really bad for me because in general, Expo can beat Mortar.
Yeah. And your last, I was going to say, your last card is Zap, not like a big spell like Rocket. So you can't really punish his pumps that well, besides with Minor. And you don't have that big spell to use on his Expo either.
Yeah, exactly. If he had like a Expo Rocket deck, then this is fairly winnable. But this deck he would have had to make a mistake for me to win.
What was it like going against a guy like CMC and Ace and stuff, like guys who you've heard of, you've certainly seen before, but you also, you're there standing next to them. Was that kind of surreal to a certain extent?
It was actually like I talked to them the night before. We actually went out to the Cheesecake Factory, so I kind of got to know them a little bit. So it wasn't like they felt like gods in front of me or something because I talked to them a little bit, but I knew they were very good opponents, and I was definitely scared about versing them.
Yeah, man. Once I knew that we had them as our first match, I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like, you couldn't ask for a more difficult match, certainly. You know, like I think that if we hadn't beat them, I think there's a good chance they could have taken it all. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's go in. So that was just a difficult matchup, unfortunately, and he was able to lock onto your tower. You had nothing to really punish the Expo there. Let's go ahead to match number 3. At this point, it's 1-1, you versus CMC. Let's go ahead and start match 3 in 3, 2, 1, play. This is another new deck that you're playing here. This is your third deck that you selected. I think this is the P.E.K.K.A deck, correct?
No, this is my Expo deck.
Oh, yes. So tell us about this deck. It's the Ice Wiz Expo Rocket deck, right?
Yes. I actually got this from St. Bellican, like maybe an hour before the match. Wow. So, but I figured I'd run it because it has a lot of air counters and Goblin Barrel counters, which was what I was aiming for.
Yeah, and you got great rocket value off the Executioner right off the start there. So you had to be pretty excited about the start.
Yeah, as soon as I saw this matchup, I knew it was great for me
Hmm.
because I have Tornado and he has Hog, and Tornado counters Hog.
Yeah. So now that you know what he's playing, basically, what is your? You're just always holding Tornado for Hog now that you've activated your King Tower, and we're seeing that you played the Expo there. You know he has Rocket too, so it's like he has a good counter to your win condition. You have a great counter to his win condition. So what is your strategy going to be? You don't have really anything to bait out. It's not like you're playing the pump version that he played against you and that I played previously of the Expo deck. So like, what's your strategy going to be here?
My strategy here is just to cycle Expo as much as possible because even if he rockets it, it's can still get some damage on the tower. And I'm not too worried about defending Hog Riders.
Yeah,
If
you have Tombstone and NATO.
Yeah, so if he did manage to defend my Expo with rocket every single time, then I knew I could just rocket cycle him out, and if he started rocket cycling me, I could just play Expo. So I wasn't too worried in that respect.
Yeah, and you get a lock here because he didn't have enough elixir to use his rocket there. So you actually get a lot of damage, which really, I mean, it doesn't seem like necessarily a huge game changer, but this put you in the position where you could beat him in a rocket cycle.
Exactly.
So here, from here on out, I mean, that there's your first rocket. Do you think that that was a little bit early to start rocket cycling, or were you just so confident in having the tombstone already on the arena and NATO in hand?
I knew that at this point he could actually probably defend my Expo without rocket because it was double elixir
Hmm.
and he has a lot of high health troops, so that's why I started rocket cycling there.
Okay. And it
And I
actually works out well. He does get a
Yeah.
hit with a hog rider, but it doesn't really matter.
And if he had counter rocketed me there, then I could have just played Expo, and that would have also been really like the Expo probably would have locked on. So
Yep, and
unless
here you
I made a
decide to
big
just
mistake,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't have lost this matchup.
Yeah, so you really did well there. Now, going into to that match, you knew what his decks were because I had played two of them at least. So was there any strategy involved in what decks you decided to use first or whatnot, or was it kind of whatever?
Um, there definitely was. I The first matchup I went with um Mega Knight because it can counter um yeah, to be honest, I don't even remember.
It's all good, man. It's hard to remember. You played so many matches because you went on to beat OJ, you went on to beat TMD Aaron, you went on to beat Ted, you went on to and play a few others. So yeah, it can get confusing. Let's hop into the next match or the first match against Ace here. So in three, two, one, play. So now you're facing Ace. Now, does knowing the player a little bit change the way you're going into this match, or are you just doing the best you can?
Yeah, definitely. I was assuming that he was running um a big like a big tank or like Pekaloon
Mm-hmm.
or Goblin like barrel cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So starting off with Expo, I knew was a good play because he probably wouldn't have Giants or Golem in his deck.
Okay, so you started off with Expo, and now that you see his first four cards here, do you feel still good about it?
Definitely not as good,
And he's
but
he's playing Splash Yard. Or no, I guess he's not. Right? What is he playing here? Just
he's playing Splash Yard. Like it's very similar to Splash Yard, but it has P.E.K.K.A in it instead
yeah,
of maybe like Bowler or something.
bowler. Yeah, yeah. So he has kind of like I wouldn't say either of these decks have like a necessarily an edge in this matchup. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty close matchup, and it came down to the wire at the end too.
Yeah, this was a crazy one. I remember freaking out in this match here. Okay, so neither has done any real damage to the other towers except for that poison. Ice Wiz actually gets a little bit of chip damage here on the left tower. So how do you feel? What's your strategy right now? I mean, you see the graveyard. You don't have an amazing counter in hand, but you actually do pretty well here with the Ice Wizard, Tornado, and Tombstone.
Um, so this deck actually, if you don't activate the King Tower, then the graveyard will probably completely annihilate you because he can just poison whenever you drop to defend it. So I knew if I didn't activate the king tower there, I would have lost the match in the long run.
Yeah, and you get a lot of damage on your right tower, but you were able to activate. So at this point, like, do you feel confident yet, or are you still worried because it's into double elixir time and he has all that damage on your right tower?
I definitely don't feel confident. At this point, I was thinking to myself, it's probably 50-50.
Okay.
And I figured it would come down to the wire, which proved to be true.
Yes. This is like, I think this is one of my favorite matches of the entire day in terms of the ending,
Yeah.
because, well, you guys will wait and see if you missed it. It's incredible. All right, so now you do get a lock on that left tower, so you got to feel good about that.
Yes. And I
But
know that I can
yeah,
just spam Expo as much as I want because if he were to go with Graveyard in the opposite lane, I could kill his tank as quickly as possible, and then the Graveyard would get 0 damage because 2 towers are activated.
hmm
So I was trying to make him split up his troops a lot.
okay, and that actually worked pretty well. You were pretty aggressive there, used that rocket there, and you just missed that Mega Minion as well. But now, like, you got to prepare for like what might be a monster push coming behind this P.E.K.K.A. You actually did a good job taking care of that P.E.K.K.A. before she even crossed the bridge. So now, where's your mind at here? This is like a monster push coming at you.
Here I was very worried because I was thinking that he'd play Graveyard there, so I tornadoed his P.E.K.K.A. backwards so that
hmm
the tower wouldn't lock onto the tank. But he made a like he predicted that I was going to do that, so he didn't play his Graveyard. And
And
it
now he does, and then you
yeah,
tornado
and
again.
here I had another bad tornado.
Yeah, yeah.
At this point, I was pretty worried.
Yeah, and Ice Wiz doing a pretty good job in the Mega Minion, just keeping you alive at least. And then he poisons. Do you think that poison was a mistake on his part?
Um, I think that it didn't
Well,
matter at this point.
yeah,
The biggest
because
mistake he had was at the end there. He tornadoed my Mega Minion and Ice Wizard away from the tower. What he should have done is put the tornado right on the center of the tower, and the baby dragon would have hit them and the tower at the same time and potentially won him the game.
yeah, that was tough on his part. He might have had that, like you said, if he didn't use that tornado there. But to his credit, being like the first pick, I think he would have probably been my first pick too. Is certainly one of the top three, and I think it was his first time like on a big stage. And as you know too, as I know, it can be nerve wracking, man. Like it's tough to stay as focused as you would when you're at home relaxing.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely made a couple of mistakes during the tourney because of that too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember talking to you about like my first match. You can actually see it, but my hand was like shaking when I was trying to like place my expo and stuff. And it's just like, man, it's crazy. Even if you do it a lot, it's just the nerves they're crazy. But anyway, let's get into your last match here. Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, play. All right, so here we are against Ace. Now, this is incredible. People at home probably already know this, but we didn't even have to use Surgical Goblin in this match because you were able to take out CMC and Ace. Man, you must have felt like so, I don't know, proud of yourself, for lack of a better phrase, of doing this.
Yeah, for sure. I was extremely happy. I I knew it was possible, but I probably would have given myself like a maybe 10% chance of doing it.
Uh huh.
And
Just made
um,
it happen.
yeah, at the start of this match, I actually waited to make my first play, which normally you wouldn't want to do with Mortar. You want to make the first play,
hmm
but I was trying to not let him know what my deck was, so that's why I
Okay.
did that move.
So it's kind of like a juke first play, like he wouldn't have guessed by bats and minor.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So now that you see he's playing the P.E.K.K.A. deck again, that same variation of the P.E.K.K.A. graveyard deck, how do you feel about this match?
I know that if I'm going to get damage, it has to be in single elixir.
hmm
So at this point, I'm going to play Mortar as much as possible and try to get an early lead.
Okay. So you're just basically mortar cycling, trying to outcycle P.E.K.K.A. Yeah, well,
Exactly.
you can't though because he has Ice Golem too. So it's tough to connect, but you actually did. So this was the ending that really killed me, I think. Right? This is the last
Yes.
second ending, right? Oh man, I'm gonna have all those feelings again. All right. So you're sending in minor, just getting more chip damage at this point because you were at full elixir.
um, I actually had a really bad hand there, and I didn't want to send in a lone miner, but
Okay.
I had to because if I would have played like any of my Low health troops, they would have been half killed by the ice golem.
Hmm. I gotcha. Yeah, that's a difficult situation because it's not like you can. How much when you're going against like a graveyard deck such as this? How much energy are you putting, like mental energy, into like fixing your cycle in situations like that? It seems like a next level pro move that I don't necessarily do.
Um, it's it's not necessarily that you have to fix your cycle. It's more of try to bait out his counter
Okay.
or make
Now,
him waste like his ice golem on something he doesn't want to waste it on.
okay, so here it comes. Now he uses his ice golem. He uses his P.E.K.K.A. He used a defensive mortar there. Really good job misdirecting that baby dragon away from your minion horde here, and then you're able to defend. Some of that graveyard. That push definitely could have taken an unskilled player such as yours truly's tower there. So that was you had to be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, for sure. I knew that he would play poison with his graveyard also, so that's why I didn't drop minion horde to defend it. And if I dropped Minion Horde on his Baby Dragon, then his Baby Dragon would have killed the Minion Horde before the Minion Horde killed it. So that's why I did that move.
Okay, so now is where it gets really, really intense. So just tell me what's going through your head here. You get the lock on to the tower, or not yet. It's the next one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, sorry for the spoiler alert, guys. This is crazy though. All right.
Here I was really worried. I thought he had me,
Yeah.
but somehow, and I still don't. Well, he actually played. He misclicked his graveyard, so that was a huge advantage to me. And here I was trying to minor cycle him, but he played his ice golem and goblins, and I knew he had like no elixir, so that's why I played my mortar there.
Oh my
And
god! And you get the lock on.
I got the lock, and I got the game.
And this is where we go crazy. Oh man, that was so intense there. Unbelievable. If you had to go a third round there, what deck would you have chosen on the third, do you think?
I probably would have just gone with Expo because he couldn't counter that. I think if I had gone with that.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, I just wanted to thank you so much for being such an amazing player, and certainly in the early rounds, leading into the semifinals and through the semifinals, you were definitely our MVP. You probably were. It's hard to even make a case of what you were able to do for the team, and then it put us in the position to be able to use Surgical Goblin to do what Surge does in the finals versus Action, and just what an amazing event. Do you have any final thoughts or anything like that before we let you go?
Yeah, it was definitely an amazing event. I'm so thankful, and I feel almost lucky to have gotten such a great experience. And I met a ton of amazing players who have great personalities. So overall, it's just awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Congratulations to your success. Good luck with picking all those orgs. Certainly so many great ones out there. So we'll have to have you on back soon again, and maybe do that Pro v Pro versus Surgical. In the meantime, everybody please go subscribe to Vulcan's YouTube channel. We'll go ahead and link it in the description below. Thanks again for coming on, man.
Yeah, and thanks for having me.
No
It's been
problem.
awesome.
No problem, man. My pleasure. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Sorry about my glare, the entire webcam of the video, but you guys weren't watching me. You're watching the fantastic gameplay. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Huge shout out to my YouTube partner, Bren Chong. Make sure you check out him in the description below as well. And guys, thank you. As always, take care, guys.